Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Obsidian Fleet's Fleetcast series known as ReWrites. This is our series where we take an episode of Star Trek or popular culture, maybe in the future, and we take a really, really, really bad episode of Star Trek and we try and fix it and try and make it good again. Good again, not great again. The format, if you've missed our first couple of sessions, which are also available on the channel, is pretty simple. Myself and my fellow panelists have been given the challenge to take the episode in question that we've picked and, in a short pitch, try and do it better. To avoid running off in wild directions, we've got a couple of sort of guidance rules. I say they're more like guidelines than actual rules. Mainly, must attempt to retain coherent resemblance to the original episode in some form. We're a bit loose on that sometimes, so we'll see. It should also try and remain suitable for the show's original audience and scope and kind of conceptually the style of what it was at the time, vaguely. Again, as I've said before, just as long as it's not a wild twist where we suddenly go from Deep Space Nine into Voyager into the original series, just, try and keep into the time zone or what have you. So before we dive into our pitches, I have to introduce my fellow panelists for this session, which are Jill and Ben. Jill, tell me a bit about yourself and what you love or hate about holidays.
Okay. I'm Jill. I'm the XO or the assistant GM on the Mercutio. And that's really the only sim that I'm on. But I've been doing it for 23 years now. So yeah, it's been a good long ride. But what I love about holidays, I mean, there's the day off. You don't got to go to work. But if you're talking about it more like a vacation rather than like calendar holidays, I mean, I've always taken a vacation at the beach. We've gone to Florida. My whole life has been like summer vacation in Florida. So that's to me what that means. And I picture sunny beaches, laying out in the sun, going and swimming in the ocean, that sort of thing. So
love it. Riser is the perfect holiday destination for Jill.
Exactly.
And Ben, same question.
So yeah, in terms of holidays, I just like somewhere I can chill with a book. Like, legitimately, if I'm on holiday, I'm most happy sat by the pool with a book and a glass of wine or a can of beer. Basically, I do Picard in Captain's Holiday.
Again, sounds like Riser is the perfect destination for all of us. For those who have not encountered me yet, I am the host of this little series. My name's Paul. I GM in Obsidian Fleet, the USS Athena, and do a few other bits and pieces around the fleet as well. For me, holidays. What I love and hate about holidays is the inbox when you come back to work after a week or two off. That's the thing I hate the most. So yeah, leave that on a downer. Thank you both. Anyway, okay, so today
what you love? You didn't say what you love about.
I mean, I'm kind of similar to you, Jill. I love sand and sea personally. Beach holidays are the best. Although I don't mind because being English, I like an English beach holiday as much as I like a proper tropical beach holiday. So I could give or take either one. Yes. So today we are looking into Deep Space Nine's worst episode, which apparently is not the Move Along Home episode.
It is for me.
So it's not Alan Moraine.
We're not doing Alan Moraine this time. We could do that in future. We could cover that in the future. This one is Let He Who Is Without Sin. So to recap that for people who are not familiar, this one involves Worf, Dax, Bashir, Lita, and Quark all going to Riser for a holiday. There is a subplot involving a group of reactionaries who are staging a bit of protest at Federation lack of preparedness for conflict. It's a bit vague. It's not really, doesn't make loads of sense to me. Plus Bashir are doing some kind of rite of separation to break up, which again, not sure about that. There's a lot there. I don't want to talk about the original episode too much other than Fun facts, because I like to throw a little bit of trivia into each episode, because why not? It was directed by Rene Auberjonois, Odo, this episode. I was reading up on Memory Alpha some of the production stuff from this episode. Apparently, it was production hell, location shooting. Nana visitor Kira, she had just given birth in real life, so Alexander Siddig has just become a dad, totally sleep deprived. So, so it sounds like behind the scenes it was an absolute mess.
They also completely changed the scene
Yeah,
with Lita and the Masuma.
I think there was supposed to be a lot
I
more
also-
nudity.
Yeah.
I also read that Terry Farrell can't be out in the sun very long.
That's right.
So they had some fun trying to work around that.
To be fair, you can see it looking at her. She is very, very fair-skinned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not a great episode, not a great episode behind the scenes either. Let's dive into some pitches, shall we? I think we'll start with Ben. I'm going to ask you to go first this time. I'd love to hear your pitch for how we're going to fix this episode. Off you go.
Okay, so I am going to start. I'm keeping the scene that we open with Odo, Cisco, and Dax talking about sort of her constant injuries since she started dating Worf and they're going on a holiday, and Worf being hacked off that she had lunch with her ex. And I'm basically going to keep the episode the same until they're on the runabout, because I actually quite enjoy parts of this episode. But anyway, so starting from seeing the runabout, Worf is his obligatory serious self, while Dax, Lita, and Bashir are sitting playing cards with Quark, who currently has 2 Horgons sat next to him. So Lita asks Worf why he doesn't join them playing cards, with Quark quickly remarking that he's probably afraid to lose, only for Worf to counter that he's quite an experienced card player, having spent many evenings playing poker on the Enterprise. Dax goes on to explain that it's a Klingon thing, with Worf huffing silently before telling them they've arrived. The 5 of them beam down, and as before, Quark runs off with his now 4 Horgons. Once again, Arandis is introduced to one of Curzon's lovers, with it being noted that their last encounter left Dax in critical condition. Worf is annoyed at an ex of Dax's being present, however his irritation is short-lived, as there's a loud crash above them when the skies darken and the Paradise planet experiences its very first thunderstorm. The reactions of the group upon reaching shelter are mixed. Quark is annoyed that his Lothario plans have been thwarted. Lita, Dax, and Bashir are irritated at their pool plans being cancelled. And Worf's curious as to what could cause this. He recalls that Councillor Troy once told him about the sophisticated weather control system while trying to convince him to take a trip there. Lita remarks she doesn't have her friends invite her to Risa, with Worf remarking that he and Councillor Troy were very close at the time. Only for Bashir to tease that Chief O'Brien's never invited him there, and Dax to remark that she's sure the Chief would be happy to come with him if he asked. We then see a protest taking place by a group of Rysans who are protesting the abuse of their planet as a resort and the harm that it's causing their culture and possibly the planet. Arandis tells the group that it's simply the ramblings of some extremists and to pay no attention, being asked by Dax if she'll join them for dinner, but declining, saying she has another engagement that evening. The group leaves bar Worf, who stays observing the protester and Arandis talking in hushed tones. Later, Bashir and Lita are seen having dinner, with Quark at another table with his now 8 Horgons. While Worf and Dax are a few tables over, Worf says the protester had some interesting points, while Dax counters that the Rysans weren't forced into using their planet this way, instead volunteering to do so. Worf suggests that perhaps they won't be agreeing on this matter, to which Dax states that's the first part of the conversation they can agree upon. Worf leaves the table before being approached by a man who says he overheard his and Dax's argument and hands him a pad with an address stating there's a meeting in 1 hour and suggests Worf may be intrigued by what's being discussed. The man leaves quickly as Bashir comes over and asks Worf if everything's all right, to which Worf replies he does not know. Worf attends the meeting where multiple people speak regarding restoring Risa to its natural state, free from outside influences and corruptions. Worf listens on as they keep discussing their leader joining them. However, as the mysterious leader is about to come on stage, the man who approached Worf comes on stage and states that unfortunately their leader had another engagement come up on short notice. Worf leaves, returning to the villa he and Dax are sharing, finding her talking to Aranis over a glass of wine. Worf questions what happened to her own prior engagement, to which she states there was an unexpected change of plans. Worf presses the point, being told by Dax to stop being rude. She apologizes, stating that Worf is too stubborn to do so himself. Worf leaves in a huff, stating that he is going to bed, alone. As he leaves, Aranis teases that it sounds like a storm's brewing. We then cut to Bashir and Lita on a beach. Quark is visible on the background with his 16 Horgons. Lita discusses how beautiful the weather is before the unthinkable happens. Another thunderstorm erupts, rain pouring down. Bashir and Lita quickly scramble, while Quark struggles to collect all of his Horgons up. On a monitor, the man who approached Worf is seen, saying he and his group have seized control of the weather control grid, and they intend to keep the storm going until all of the tourists agree to leave and the Federation agrees to stop using their world as a vacation resort. At their villa, Dax accuses Worf of helping the man, citing that it would take someone with command-level Starfleet clearance or an administrator of Risa itself. Worf agrees that he's spoken further with the man, and he agrees with many of his points, but stops short of saying that he helped him. Dax leaves angrily, saying she needs to talk to Aranis and see if there's anything she can help fix Worf's mess. Worf pursues and asks her to come with him. We then cut to the weather control facility. The man is seen talking to various people before Aranis approaches. It looks like they're about to begin arguing, but before either of them can say a word, Worf and Dax enter, with Dax asking what she's doing there. Aranis begins to say she came to negotiate, before Worf states that negotiating with terrorists is not a prudent action. The man says Worf wasn't describing them as terrorists when they spoke the night before, with Worf then telling the man that experience has taught him that villains who twirl their moustaches are easy to spot, and that he felt it prudent to gather further information before leaping onto the side that appeared right. Worf approaches the console, a pair of protesters attempting to restrain him and being shrugged off, with one of them being thrown into the one true nemesis of Worf, an enemy far greater than any member of the House of Duras. Large blue barrels. Worf keys in commands before telling Dax to see for herself. The code used was Aranis. She was the ringleader of the protesters and has been moving up the ranks on Risa in order to enact exactly this plan. Dax asks if it's true and she states of course it is. Worf then tells her that she's under arrest with her attempting to retreat and Dax knocking her out, telling her that this time she's the one in critical condition. We then cut to the poolside. Lita and Bashir are lounging once more. Quark is sat with his 32 Horgons. Dax asks how he knew it was Aranis. He points out that she'd appeared after her prior engagement was cancelled the same evening as Worf turned up at the rally. She'd seen him in the crowd and knowing he'd break her cover had fled. Then there was the tease about the storm brewing. She was the moustache-twirling villain Worf had mentioned. Dax asks where he got that from, and he states that on the Enterprise, an admiral once had him help in what had appeared to be an investigation, but was in fact a witch hunt for an innocent man that ended up directed at Captain Picard. Afterwards, Picard had given him that very advice, and since then, Worf watches for signs of deception. Dax asks if he's detected anything from her, to which Worf admits he does not know. She's given him a blind spot. The two kiss, and the episode ends.
Very nice.
Bravo. Very good.
Thank you.
I
Very
like
good.
it.
I enjoyed that too. I think there's some threads in there that I really like. The multiplying Horgons for a start made me smile. You couldn't keep a straight face, could you?
It kept flashing to you every time you sniggered, and then because I was seeing you laughing, that was making me.
Sorry. But I love the there's also like the callbacks to Worf's past and like making that about that. I like the fact that you've implicated Dax's old friend. Those are really nice little tweaks to the story. So it's not like miles different, but you've actually just tweaked it nicely to make it a little bit more logical.
I went for a tidy up rather than a full on rewrite.
Yeah, that's fair. What do you think, Jill?
I liked it a lot. The not just the multiplying Horgons, but there was a good amount of humor throughout the whole thing. You had some other points that made me laugh too, which I appreciate. And also the contemporary issue of vacation areas becoming overrun by tourists and going too far, whether it's because of their behavior or just because of the sheer numbers. So I think it's a very contemporary issue that you wrapped into there. So I like that a lot.
It's very Star Trek to do that, you know,
Yeah.
commentary on the live events type thing. That's good
Yes.
stuff. Thanks, Ben. That was great. That was good fun. That I enjoyed listening to that. So yeah, let's hear what Jill has to propose with this. I'm curious.
All right.
You said you'd only finished writing this a short time ago, so this
I
should be
did.
interesting. So fresh and hot off the press. Let's see what Jill could do.
So when I first saw this episode, it's been a long time, but I liked it probably because it was on Risa. It's a vacation episode, and there's supposed to be some romance in there too, and I'm a sucker for that. So and I've always liked Worf and Dax together. I just really did. So I had to go and look up what people thought was wrong with this before I kind of started understanding. And then it was like once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. So so I think I did a similar thing. I just tweaked some things. I mean, you're not supposed to completely change, but I didn't change the theme or anything. But here we go. I also started off with Jadzia and Cisco and Odo around the table in the morning with coffee mugs in hand, and them giving her a hard time about her injuries. And decided I'd keep the whole opening scene, including Worf and Jadzia's spat, his many "we have much to discuss" lines, and Bashir and Lita begging into the runabout down to the planet. But I left Quark at home. I didn't really see a real point without the multiplying Horgons. So he doesn't really add anything to the plot, and we don't have, and without his gifting of the Horgons, we don't have Lita pretending that they're Barbie dolls. And I said, in fact, is the shuttle ride where we find out that Julian and Lita are they're not here to vacation together, but to break apart from each other or take a break from each other. Enjoy themselves and determine if they actually want to continue as they are or go their separate ways. So on Risa, everyone is dressed to enjoy the resort except for Worf. And Julian and Lita go their separate ways, and we don't really see them again till the end of the episode. We keep the discussion between Jadzia and Worf, in which he complains about how the environment is not natural, and her unwrapping her wrap and showing off for him his story about the beautiful star cluster and how it doesn't compare to her. I like that. That's good stuff. So I wanted to keep that. But from there, they stroll along, and instead of Arandis recognizing Dax, because how would she recognize Dax in her new form? Jadzia recognizes Arandis and introduces introduces Arandis and Worf. I'm also omitting any mention of Arandis killing Curzon because that just kind of seemed out of left field for me, and her ambivalence to it. Like she didn't really seem to care too much about that. So it was kind of weird for me. So I'm taking all of that out. Also, any view that we've gotten of Curzon in his last moments before Jadzia got the symbiont did not look anything like Risa. So, yeah. But perhaps the two do reminisce over their time together a little too wistfully. And so when Arandis invites them to a hospitality activity, Worf curtly refuses. and the rest of the scene where Jadzia admonishes him for his treatment occurs, and he mentions his worry that she's still attracted to past lovers of both Jadzia and Dax. In the background, we see people walking around in close conversation, perhaps on the chairs and chaise lounges in 2s, 3s, maybe even 4s. Some are in more revealing clothing than we saw in the episode, and sometimes perhaps none. But the angle that we see them from is still acceptable for a TV show. Kind of like what people say with violence sometimes, you can hint at it without showing it. And that's what I wanted to bring in with this, because there were also parts of the production notes that said how censors limited how much they could make this planet that's supposed to have no inhibitions censor friendly. Also, some of those background folks could be seen in Embrace that will lead to further stuff off camera, but we're just showing a hint of what's happening. So I want that to kind of come across and be a more accurate interpretation of what Risa is supposed to be. But back in their room, Worf looks dubiously between Jadzia and the swimsuit that she packed for him. He puts it aside, but after some playful banter, the camera fades out on a very romantic interlude. We come back, and in the aftermath of that interlude, while they're still recovering in bed, the ground rumbles, mild shaking happens at first, but it then intensifies. Around the resort, there are places where pieces of structures fall. Fortunately, there's only minor injuries here, and the cleanup quickly progresses while Jadzia and Worf assist with reviewing the malfunctioning seismic stabilizers. They're not able to find an origin, but repairs are made, and later, over a meal of Space Greg sausage rolls, eaten in a very provocative way, some semblance of security is recommended. It's a day later, and we see more of the various activities that happen on Risa, but not all are going to be sexually oriented. We could see some health exercise classes, swimming, laying out on the beach, stuff like that. In the middle of this, Jem'Hadar soldiers begin to decloak and systematically march through, gathering people up, shooting at those who put up too much of a fight. But a small contingent, including Dax and Worf, go undetected, resolving to put the frivolous aside for the moment. They concoct a plan to jam the cloaking signal of the Jem'Hadar and get close enough in hand-to-hand combat, ripping or breaking the Ketracel white feeds that go directly into their system. The contingent waits them out until they're no longer functional without the white and detain the squad until Starfleet Task Force shows up to take them into custody. There's also, some conversations about the need for security, possibly even lightweight. On the last day, as people are recovering, Arandis arranges a Helga Ball game. This is a prehistoric game with all female players where the men act as the goalpost, scantily clad, of course. It plays like a combination of rugby, soccer, and wrestling, with the ladies carrying the ball in skirts or aprons that they wear. And maybe that's all they wear. The ball itself is a head of cabbage. Everyone has fun at the game, and the camera fades out.
Bravo. Ben, instant reaction?
I liked it. There was just the right amount of comedy. I am a sucker for any time the Jem'Hadar show up, because DS9 is my favorite Star Trek.
Yay.
And was the ending there meant to be a tongue-in-cheek throwback to Angel One in Next Generation, or with the very, very revealing outfit they put Riker in, or...
No, it wasn't meant to be. I actually... they mentioned something called hoverball, and I didn't know what hoverball was, but I'm in a living history group, and Helga Ball is actually something that used to exist. It's I think, Scandinavian. Origins, and I was just like, you know what? I've played Helga Ball. Sounds like a lot of fun. So let's introduce something that probably nobody knows about.
Yeah. Yeah, I just heard the scantily clad bit for the blokes and immediately went to that episode of Next Generation. But no, generally I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I like the Space Greg's inclusion as well. That was a very
I
good.
kind of realized I had to do that after watching the Kittimer one.
Yeah, because Space Greg's.
Yeah.
It's I find it interesting that you went in a very different direction in taking away a lot of the kind of peril elements of the episode. There's some peril parts in the original, but not like emphasized too hard. I find it interesting you've turned it around into a lot more of a personal story between Dax and Worf. Is that what you were intending to do? Is that the kind of the direction you wanted to go in?
So I liked the aspect of their conflicts, like promoting character growth. So at the same time, I felt like parts of the arguments were a little bit too much. Like I felt like Worf was being thrown too much in the very beginning. And so I wanted to lessen that, but I didn't want to take away that aspect of the conflict and them coming through that. At the same time, I didn't think the threat of uh, the movement that was in the show was really a threat. Like they were like, "Hey, we kind of want to show you what could happen," and that was all that they never felt like a serious threat. There was a lot of mustache twirling. And so I wanted there to be something more serious, and my pitch probably didn't go into that enough. I think that could be fleshed out a little bit more, but it's like if the Jem'Hadar showed up, the people were bodily threatened. I feel like that would feel more legitimate than just these people who kind of want to make you think.
That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. I was trying to remember. I had a moment when you were talking. I was like, "Did the Jem'Hadar did they go to war yet?" By the time this episode happened, I couldn't remember whether it was before that or after that.
No,
No, it's
them being like, you need to be prepared for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is when they're in sort of the Cold War bit with the Dominion. The
Yeah.
war doesn't start until the finale of season 5. Because it's when the Cardassians join up with them is when they actually go into the war.
In that
then
case,
maybe
it makes more sense in some ways that they show up, and it can add that to the kind of ongoing tension of and the ongoing threat of, oh, hang on a minute, this is getting hotter than cold.
So I don't know if my mention of how they would of using the Ketracel White against them, if that would have been known at that time actually, and I didn't think about that.
They might have done.
I think that was introduced in one of the, I want to say season 4 episodes, because you got the one where where they've crashed on the planet.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And so I'm pretty sure that's been established by this point. I could be wrong because I'll be honest, DS9 is my favorite Star Trek, but I also do have a tendency to pick and choose which ones I want to watch and which ones I don't.
It's my favorite as well, which is why I picked to do this episode, but it's been a long time since I've watched it through, so I'm kind of that. But
the chronology of it's not always clear in my head, I will say.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help that season 5 especially is a little bit of a mess, partly because they had to work parts of the schedule around the fact that they had to send Michael Dorn off to go and do First Contact.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
a similar mess happened in season 7.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jill. I've enjoyed both of these so far. Each time both of you have started, I've been like, I hope they don't go down a similar path to I do. I think that's the risk of me going last here is,
right.
I don't want to seem like I've done the same pitch as someone else. Thankfully, I've not. I was worried a little bit more with Ben's because I thought you were going to go down the same path I did, and but that's fine. I went more off the deep end with my pitch. So
Okay, so more multiplying Horgons.
more all the Horgons, Horgons everywhere. My turn. So right, I was trying to understand what the intended theme of the episode was supposed to be, and I think we've already touched on that a little bit. We get hints of kind of that eco-terrorism sort of aspect of it, maybe the kind of environmental thing. There's that heavy emphasis on the Worf and Dax relationship being a bit messy. And I was trying to bottom it out when I was looking at it and thinking about I was trying to bottom that out. And so I've landed on my pitch is Die Hard Worf a Vengeance. Yeah, thanks, Ben. I like that reaction. Perfect. In my head, preparation is the buzzword for this episode. Exactly the same setup as you've both gone, pre kind of credits setup. I reduced Bashir and Lita's subplot significantly. I don't really care for it. It doesn't work for me. It's still there. It happens, but we'll kind of trim that back. Worf, Dax are having a bit of an imbalance of relationship issues, as we kind of see in the original episode. Things aren't working very well. They're arguing about things. She's got this long history of ex-partners through the various hosts. So she's the more experienced lover, apparently. He's a bit grumpy about her having lunch with them, despite it not being a thing. So there's this underlying feeling that Worf is like not really prepared for someone like Dax, who's more experienced than him, supposedly. And he staunchly denies it. He's very kind of proud, but he's very much like, no, that's not true. So all five of them, I'm taking Quark this time. All five of them head to Risa for this romantic break. As I say, we don't see much of Bashir and Lita, but we do get them arguing a little bit on the way, and that makes Worf kind of bothered. Oh, is this how we're going to end up? They're breaking up, but we're arguing as well. So is that the way it's going? So we'll drop a little bit of a hint of that. On Risa, they go about sunbathing and relaxing. Worf is traditionally grumpy about it. Again, they meet one of Dax's exes, which just makes him even more grumpy. Oliva Randis is slightly less of a kind of dominant character in this version. Doesn't appear as much as perhaps in your guys' pitch, but that's fine. In my version of this, we diverge a little bit. Worf does not meet these new essentialists at all early on or attend the protest. We'll kind of separate that out. They're seen separately as kind of like bookends to different scenes early on. But they're, as much as they're political idealists and activists, in this version, they're a bit more extreme and militant. And they're kind of quite hardcore. So as Worf and Dax are on their own relaxing, Quark is also with them, being the third wheel, as he should. Maybe he has Horgons, I don't know. Suddenly the weather changes into a storm and they have to take shelter. This is why I was worried about your pitch, Ben. Dax says, I need to go and check on Arandis. I need to make sure they're okay. So Worf gets a little bit annoyed by this, but understands, it's fine. You go off and check. After a little bit of time's passed, there's uproar on the planet and in the resort as these new essentialist patriots take over the resort and start to hold people hostage with stolen weapons and stuff. They claim control of the weather control station and stage a hostage taking as a revolutionary act to demonstrate just how prepared these people are for the potential conflicts that the Federation faces. This leaves... So everybody's like Dax and Bashir, Lita, everybody's been taken hostage by this group in the main kind of resort building. But Worf and Quark are still in their kind of hotel room as this is all going on. This is where we get our kind of Shrek and Donkey, McLean and Zeus type pairing, the odd couple of Worf and Quark together. Quark obviously like, I don't want to go and I'm not going to get into any trouble here. I'm staying out of this. Whereas Worf is like, no, we have to sort this out. And like Quark's like, but we're not prepared to fight these terrorists, which makes Worf even more angry because he's like, no, I am prepared. A warrior is always prepared for battle. The new essentialists don't get anywhere with the local government. They don't negotiate with terrorists. They're more bothered about the weather systems during the holiday season. and holiday season being ruined. At this point, Quark also makes an observation about how astute they are for this, concentrating on the fact that he needs a refund when this is all over for his ruined holiday. I'm not going to go like heavy beat for beat on what happens next, but the kind of middle act is full Worf stealth assassinating reactionaries, going full John McClane. Now I have a bat left, ho 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 type stuff. I want full cliche. I want radio conversation with this Fullerton guy where it's like a Hans Gruber kind of back and forth. I want all of that. We get the kind of classic moment at some point where he figures out that Dax is Worf's love interest. So he does the cold cliched, I got your girl thing. He has this full kind of monologue about how the Federation's unprepared for all these coming conflicts, etc., to which Worf kind of counters by calling out the dishonor of taking hostages to prove a point. He retells the tale from the original episode about how he accidentally killed a guy when he was playing football as a kid. Anyone else think that was really dark, by the way? Like, Worf killed a guy at football. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why didn't he go to prison? Like,
yeah, because
they were just okay with this?
That came up in Next Generation as well. It's just like, literally, he accidentally nutted the kid.
And he died.
Yeah, he snapped his neck.
Yeah. So Worf explains this story, tells this story, and it's like a cautionary tale about how humans are fragile, but Worf himself shows restraint and helps people rather than indulging in violence. And he tries to use this and make the point that violence is not the answer. All of this, though, is all this kind of confrontation between Worf and Fullerton is a distraction so that Quark can get to be the hero. He gets the weather system back under control by bribing some of the revolutionaries. So, I'll just fix it. And he figures it out. He does that whole profit thing. Once the weather returns to normal, Dax uses the distraction to kick Fullerton, and Worf knocks him out. They stand on the roof of the building and make out a bit as the action got them wanting Jama Haron or something. We have that kind of classic bit. So we have, that's kind of like the end of the middle act, so to speak. Bashir and Lita break up immediately after these events, citing the stress of the situation really putting the final nail in their already breaking up state. Quark comes away having negotiated a full refund on holidays and free tickets for another vacation on Risa, which he plans to immediately sell for a profit. Later, as Worf and Dax are talking, Worf finally explains he wasn't jealous or anything like that about her previous hosts. He said that he felt a little bit unprepared about the relationship with Dax, and that was difficult for him. But his warrior's honor demands that he's always ready and always prepared for battle, not the ways of the heart. They end up being more honest and close to each other as a result, and head back to DS9 in a much better place. Though we kind of end kind of with a scene where she comes out with more bruises again, and it's kind of ha 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 giggity, and then we cut to the credits.
Very good.
Die Hard War for Vengeance. There you go.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I like that you gave it a real threat, even and it stayed with the movement, but they were actually like, they weren't just words. They weren't just talking a game. They actually came through with it. So that's I liked how that stayed with, the what's familiar in the episode, but made it better.
I just loved it because Die Hard. I liked it when Next Generation did it. I didn't like it when Discovery did it, but they did it wrong. Because how do they fit those turbo lift shafts in that ship? I don't get. Is it the top? Sorry, tangent. But yes, just Die Hard. Yes, my only critique: where were the Horgons and where were the barrels?
Maybe Quark bribes them with the Horgons. I don't know.
I like Quark as the savior, I guess, and the humor with Quark and Worf working together.
I don't think we get enough of that in the original DS9. We don't get enough that kind of mismatch. No. We get a bit of Quark and Odo, but I don't think we ever get enough Quark and Worf, and I think that'd be hilarious.
And
Yeah.
bribing the essentialist to get to let go of the weather machine. It's like I can see him giving away drink coupons at court to court.
No, that's where the Horgons went.
Yeah, that's what the Horgons went.
I did
Very-
enjoy that, although you're going to see a bit, if you didn't notice it already on the watch, but I'm just going, what? when you said Quark was the savior. No, not because it's a bad idea, but because I was like, yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing that, I'll be honest. It was kind of, once I got the idea in my head that it was going to be more of a, like Die Hard on Riser, I think you can go nuts with an idea like that, can't you?
Mm.
Yeah. Very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Die Hard.
I like the very kind of, I like the spectrum of different pitches we've had here. This has been quite an entertaining one because we've kind of gone from like fairly kind of minimal peril to, and then like just overboard peril as well. But I like the fact that we can tweak this episode in slightly different ways and it still kind of retains some of the theme, but we've kind of done very different things there. I think that's quite fun.
And it seemed like all of ours stuck with a lot of the original content. I know, like when I watched last, I don't know if it's going to be last week's by the time this airs, but Becca and Phoebes, they like gave different themes like horror or whatever to their episode and kind of changed that style a little bit. Whereas the three of us in this one just kind of made little changes that really all of them I felt were better than what was aired.
Some would say that's not hard, but I know that you like the original. I
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the original. Like, part of the reason why I wanted to do this one was A, same as Jill said earlier, love DS9. B, it is an episode that I somewhat enjoy because it's one of the rare DS9 episodes that does go silly without pushing it into ham. Because, well, that's what Alan Moraine did. It was silly and then just became hammy.
Yeah. Although my pitch did go slightly ham on.
No, that was
references.
Die Hard. That wasn't hammy. That was Die Hard. That's fine. There's no such thing as too much Die Hard.
Or too many Horgons, apparently.
Exactly.
I like that we all took out the right of separation too.
Yeah.
That just didn't seem like anything. Like, why did they put this in here?
Yeah. Didn't make any sense, did it?
Something Lita in skimpy outfit. That was literally probably the entire conversation in the writers' room.
Yeah, but they didn't need it to be.
No, they didn't.
We need to break these two up so we can set her up with Rom.
But like they were only dating. It's not like they were married. So why, if they didn't go through a ceremony to get together, why do they need a ceremony to separate?
It's true.
Also, it kind of irritates me as well because Bashir's my favorite character in DS9.
Okay.
And the bit that frustrates me is they put him in a relationship that was actually reciprocal, although everyone goes, oh, the whole thing with him and Dax was very stalkery. It's like, no, go back and watch it again. She is literally egging him on the entire way. Like, the worst bit is you look at that, it's just like, it is the girl who will egg him on in private, and then as soon as they're in public, go, oh no, I'm not interested in him.
She's very flirty early on, is Dax, I think. Early season, she's quite flirty.
Funnily enough, when you said about sort of Dax being more experienced than Worf, my thought was, well, yeah, and that's just Jadzia.
Yeah.
You include the rest of them.
Yeah. I don't think he's ever touched on that she probably is like the most experienced in that respect, in relationship-wise, than anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I refer you to the episode with the wedding.
Yeah, true.
With the fire breather and Morn sneaking out of her quarters in the morning.
Excellent. Well, we've covered 3 pitches. We've covered the episode. I think that's been a great discussion. I've really appreciated all 3 of these chances to have a bit of a play around with some DS9. I can't wait to see what happens with some of the other ones that we've got lined up. And as I say, I definitely think Alan Moraine in the future is worthy of experimentation, shall we say. So if we do get onto that one, I'm sure you'll both be interested in having a go at that. But in the meantime, this will be posted at some point once we've got the schedule up, and we'll definitely pop into the Discord a little poll to see what people think, have a little bit of discussion on what other people thought of these pictures and which one they like the most. But for now, this has been our ReWrites episode. I do my little outro thing here that I'm supposedly developing, which is keep rewriting.